So Paqueta, you're expected to have to put a bid in for it. There's a bid expected. Charles Watts has kind of alluded to this. There's talk of it being 60 plus million pounds. This is kind of picking up pace again, this one. A lot of the tier ones, people are starting to talk about it and mention it. Do you see this as a legitimate Arsenal transfer? Does it feel right? Is it the right type of player you need right now? Or is it... the reason I'm asking that is I've seen some Arsenal fans kind of suggest you don't need him because of Odegaard and Fabio Vieira. What's your take on this deal?
Yeah, it's felt real to me for a while now. Like, just in people, it kind of goes back to, like, you don't need Fabrizio Romano and Ornstein to tell you that things are happening. Like, the original report that came from Mediafoot was from a reliable journalist, so I don't know why people are acting like if Ornstein and Fabrizio aren't saying anything, they're probably not getting any information from Arsenal right now. I feel that's the idea that I'm getting from the two of them. After the Lisandro Martinez and Rafinha stuff, they're not getting any more information, so they're probably going to be last to know. And then Goal Brazil has been very reliable in regards to what Arsenal are doing, because we've been linked with 3 Brazilian players and they're reliable. So especially Risa, who works for Goal Brazil. And so just because Ornstein isn't giving you a play-by-play doesn't mean it's not happening. And I would imagine that after what happened with Rafinha and Lisandro Martinez, Arsenal got a lot more, wanted to move a lot more quiet, because everybody is going after the same players, and you just, moving in silence is probably a better thing. So with Lucas, I think, this idea that we don't need any more creative minded midfielders because we have Odegaard and Vieira, I think is just very short-sighted, because the best Arsenal teams had many creative players, and we never complained. We know that we're always one injury away from not having any creativity in our team. And what I like about Lucas that Tielemans doesn't have, which I still think Tielemans is a good player, but he can play across the front 3 and also play on both sides of your 6. So he can play 5 positions very well. He works really hard. He's quick. He's fun to watch as well. He's a typical Brazilian player with the flair and all of that. So I think he's definitely the type of player that we need. I get that some Arsenal fans just don't know much about him. So it's kind of like, well, why would we need him? He played mostly up top last season, but mostly owned midfielders play in every single position. That's what they do. Bruno did it. Awar does it. That's just how they play. So yeah, I think it's the right move. I would imagine that the one thing that I did like about the original report was that they said that they wanted to get confirmation or some sort of buy-in from Lucas Paqueta before they put in an official bid, which I think is the most important thing, because Newcastle have been sniffing around him for a while. And the last thing that Arsenal need right now is some sort of bidding war or another team coming in. So you get him to say, yes, I want to come to Arsenal, and then you start dealing with a loss. He's very difficult to deal with, as we've known from the Awar situation. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. We need at least 2 more midfielders in my mind, so this would be one that I think he fits in. But this idea that we just only need 1 creative midfielder and that's it is ridiulous. I mean, look at, even United, they have Bruno, Eriksen, they're trying to get Frankie de Jong. You need as much creativity as you can possibly get. And Paqueta is the same, so I think it would be an interesting deal. Of course, he's going to cost a lot, but I don't really care about that, because Arsenal clearly have the money. We have the money, so just pay it. I don't even know why Arsenal fans are worried about that. It's going to be so much money. It's not our money. Why do you care? We've already brought in the striker. We have another creative midfielder that already came in. We know we're looking at Grimaldo, and he's going to cost, 6 million or something like that. So it's not like getting him would inhibit us or from getting something else that we really need. We've gotten our main thing, which is a striker. The next thing that has to happen is the midfielder. Those were the priority signings. So I don't really see why that matters, but I think it also is people do that when that's not the player that they want. You know, it's like, I don't want this player, so it's so much, you know, but why do you care? It's not your money.
Yeah, I've not really understood that take from certain people. It's not really made that much sense to me why there's frustration. And I get, listen, Odegaard looks like he's going to be your captain as far as I've read. So he's
Yeah.
placing your first team is pretty secure. But this is the thing with Arsenal fans: you're not at the top of the tree. So if you were top of the tree, winning leagues, winning Champions Leagues, and you had certain players that were integral in that, I can understand it to a certain degree. To a certain degree, but even then, you should want competition and people pushing one another, and that's what you've now got to create. There's European football. There's the 5 sub rule, and it's kind of weird that if a player doesn't like, if the natural viewed position of a player isn't isn't the position that certain fans feel needs to be fitted. So that if they go, well, he's a bit more advanced, we've already got an advanced midfield player, therefore we don't need one. They can't look beyond the end of their nose that there could be an adaptation in play. Maybe the way that Arteta wants to take your football this season, he needs an extra creative player in the side. And, you know, maybe he isn't completely sold on everybody that's within your team, as an example. Maybe, yeah, fans might big up certain players, but maybe the manager's like, yeah, he's good. But if we want to start winning these leagues, if we want to start winning these, back into the Champions League and winning them, we need to go to another level. And like, this player looks serious as well. Like, he looks like an absolute star in the making. And I know he's not young, but he looks like an absolute star. And I remember you waxing lyrical about Bruno Guimaraes and Arsenal fans really coming for you on that one as well, as if you were just chatting absolute nonsense. And then we saw him take a little bit of time to get into the first team at Newcastle. But we saw in that system, he was just fantastic. I mean, namely in the game.
He didn't have to play right away either, because Newcastle were safe. Like, Eddie Howe just could ease him in, because ultimately he's kind of was like a summer signing. They already had secured it. Do you know what I mean? So like, one thing, like, I don't know much, but one thing I do know is Brazilian players. Like, this guy he's serious. He's a serious player. So he's not going to cost 20 million. Like, he's going to cost a lot. But who cares when you have somebody that can play 5 positions? He would instantly put pressure on Bukayo, Martinelli. He can play number 9. He's much better than what we have. And like, I think the worst part is that, like, I do get a sense that Arsenal fans have become a little bit complacent and don't realize that, like, we've been suffering for a while. Like, these players are okay, but like, they're nowhere near where we should be. Like, seeing Gabriel Jesus play in that preseason game should have showed them that. Like, we need better players than what we got. And Paqueta walks straight into that team, and he's the second best player behind Jesus. Like, it's not a game. He's serious.